This is the moment we've all been waiting for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world. Let's get ready to rumble!
Welcome to the Junkyard Pod. I'm Tony Pesta, joined by Corey Walsh and the Cleveland Cavaliers. You know, they've been back for a while now, but I feel like I can officially say we are so back. That felt like, I just said it at the start of the last pod, and I immediately regret it because I was like, we might have to adjust our expectations for this team. They're going to be in a lot more close games this year. I don't think they're just going to run opponents off the floor, and then immediately they go into Detroit and run them off the floor. I mean, this game was over by the third quarter. There was a little moment we were talking about right before we recorded. There was a little moment where it looked like maybe Detroit was going to do the same thing that Milwaukee did, the same thing that Brooklyn did, which was creep back into this game. But Donovan Mitchell checked back in. The Cavs have talked a lot about, hey, we can't let our foot off the gas. This has been a trend throughout the last few years. We go up big, then we let our foot off the gas. Donovan Mitchell came back in and made sure that was not going to be a problem tonight. Corey, Cavs just won in big fashion against the Pistons. What was your overall takeaway from this game?
I felt like this was their most complete game that they played all season. I think there's been stretches with the Cavs to start the year where we've seen glimpses of what I think this team can be without Garland and Strus. Kind of feels like they're still trying to figure it out offensively. Rotations are kind of getting thrown all over the place. Starting lineups have changed, but I felt like this was the closest to the team that we saw from last year. And it also was the first game, I think, out of the other three where I didn't feel like Donovan Mitchell had to be Superman in order for this team to win. I know that we just said, like, when that little stretch from the Pistons in the middle of the third came around, Mitchell got put back in, but I felt like that was more for like energy's sake, because it felt like Mitchell just had a different type of gravitas to him today, where it was just like, I saw people in the Twitter group chat saying like, man, he must really hate JV or something. But it did feel like there was some ulterior motive for Donovan, where this game felt personal, but also it just also didn't require the most aggressive Mitchell we've seen thus far. So I thought that was a really good sign for the Cavs, especially as they're down a few key players.
Yeah, it's really interesting because I know that it's just a random Monday in October. And when we look back at Donovan Mitchell's time in Cleveland, I doubt we're going to remember this game all that much, but it was legitimately one of the best performances he's had. It's not the best, but it was one of the most, like, he didn't even look like he was trying. And he hangs 35 points on, let me see here, 13 of 18 shooting. Now, my rough math here, if I'm remembering correctly with what happened last game, he's shooting 19 of 26 inside the paint, or just inside 2-point range over the last two games. Hasn't shot the three ball all that well. He was 1 of 8 last game, 2 of 4 tonight, which is solid, but it's not like he's just bombarding opponents with 3-point shooting. He is just slicing and dicing, getting into the lane, hitting that floater. He pulled out basically every dribble move in the book tonight. I think he did the over the head move like 17 times. It's just like, I don't know who it was. It might have been Ron Holland. Someone almost stripped him because he did it so many times that they were like actually ready for it. I think he ended up getting the ball back, and I don't think he even took a shot after that. But I mean, he's doing the sham god. He was crossing people up. He was doing lefty scoop layups. Like it was ridiculous what Donovan Mitchell was doing tonight. And again, he made it look so easy. This is the third time in 4 games that he has scored 30 points so far this season. And like, the usage, he did it all without feeling like, oh, wow, the entire team is just relying on Mitchell to dig them out of a hole or something. No, they were up by like 15, and Donovan Mitchell was like, I want to double that. Let's see if we can get this up to 30. I'm just going to go off right now. So awesome game from Donovan Mitchell. Can't say it enough. He has been so good. We focus so much on like the Evan Mobley aspect that I think sometimes we take our eyes off of how special Donovan Mitchell is, and he's just been off to such a great start this year.
Yeah, and it was one of those things where when the season started, it's like, all right, how much does Donovan have to be like Superman for this Cavs team to kind of be where we expect them to be? And the first 3 games kind of made me feel like we were going to have to lean on Mitchell a little bit more while Mobley's figuring out his aggression to start the season. I think that's been a big conversation point as well for the Cavs. But the fact that Mitchell in this game, in their most dominant game of the season, was more of like, I felt like he was just like the topping on the sundae, pretty much. Like, it's not something where if Donovan didn't have the performance he had, the Cavs, I think, would have struggled. It was just more like any chance the Pistons had of coming back in this game got evaporated by Donovan Mitchell. But they didn't build that lead solely because of Mitchell.
No. I mean, this was an all-around team performance. I mean, like, Mitchell obviously gets the first nod because of the 35 points. He was plus 38 tonight. But across the board, the Cavs just played solid basketball, solid two-way basketball. I mean, the entire starting lineup crushed it. Sam Merrill, we should mention, did leave in the third quarter with a hip contusion, they're saying. Now, are they just being cautious because they were up 30 points? Could he have returned? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Hopefully, he is healthy and won't miss, too much time, if any, because, man, last time we recorded, or 2 times ago, I dropped a take that I was kind of joking. I was like, maybe Sam Merrill could be a 6th man of the year candidate. Now I'm like, should I have really committed to that bit? And I kind of am leaning into it now because the dude's just been awesome. He's hitting floaters. He's doing one dribble, relocate threes. He's pulling up from like 30 feet off a standstill, just like, you're not going to guard me. I know I'm 5 feet down the 3-point line, but you have to guard. And he just shot it and made it. He's doing everything. He's playing great defense, like legitimately good. I won't say great. He's playing very good defense, though. Like, actually playing, not, oh, wow, Sam Merrill's underrated defensively. No, it's like, whoa, he's playing really good defense. Like, we're not even glazing it. He's just actually being an impactful defender. So I hope he's not going to miss too much time because, zooming out, the whole team played great today, but Sam Merrill was one of the guys who really got the ball rolling early on because, again, he left some point in the third quarter, I believe, but he finished with 11 points in 18 minutes, shot 4 of 7, 2 steals, just good stuff from Sam and good stuff from the Cavs overall.
Yeah, especially when it feels like, to this point, I don't think the Cavs have really found their 3-point volume and efficiency that they had to start the year last year, where it just felt like they couldn't miss for long stretches. That includes Donovan. It felt like it's like no contest that Merrill's been their most reliable 3-point shooter to start the year. So losing him would be pretty huge for this team. I mean, he's the reason they got out so convincingly to start the game. Like you said, he was just on fire and unconscious from 3, pulling out double hesitation pull-ups from logo range. You should never have given up on that take. I literally also was thinking that during the game. I'm like, Tony's take, Jackson gave him a lot of flack in our text group, but I have to say,
I'm committing to it. We're counting it down. 282 more threes until Sam hits 300 this season. I believe we're at 282. We have 282 left. Count them down with me, everybody. We're going to get there one way or the other, as long as he, obviously doesn't miss too much time, because that would hurt. But he is actually on pace. I know it's only been 4 games, but he is on pace for 300. So we're keeping an eye on it.
I will be interested to see, in a world where Darius comes back, what that's going to do to Merrill. I think he's definitely, him and Ball are putting up pretty convincing cases to both be 6 men, but I know Ball's going to be on the minute restriction for a long while. So it's probably should be Sam. And honestly, like, it's going to be pretty hard to not play him if he's shooting like this. And he looks different. I know it's a lot of the same stuff he's done, like what you see on the tape, but the difference is he's super confident. It feels like he's knocking it down. We've gone through stretches where it's been like 5 to 10 games where Sam will still keep shooting like 6 to 8 3-pointers a night and they're not going in. And it's like, well, we know they're going to fall eventually. And now it's like, he's only shooting like 6 to 7 times a game and he's making 4 to 5 of them, to the point where now like national broadcasts are taking multiple minutes of the game to talk about Sam Merrill and like how much of a value he is. And Austin Rivers is like talking about like at length about like, oh man, you can just tell this guy is like trying on both ends. It's great. It's like, have you told us in the beginning of like when that contract was signed that Sam Merrill was going to be the spotlight of national media attention? That would not be something we saw coming.
It's been paying off immediately. I mean, someone on the broadcast said it. All of a sudden that contract looks like it might be a team-friendly deal. It's like, whoa, not to get too carried away or anything, but I think the big thing that stands out to me about Sam Merrill, because you mentioned it, it does like he's playing very, it's not like he has radically changed his style or anything, but there's a level of confidence that he's playing with, and everything that he's doing, yes, he's shooting like 50% from 3. We know that that's more than likely not going to continue, but everything he's doing feels very sustainable. And he has kind of proven over the course of like 3 years now that he can recreate it. He can replicate the way that he plays in any context, and especially under this Kenny Atkinson system, where I think me and Jackson talked about it in the last episode, so I don't want to repeat too much, but it's year 2 under Kenny. This is year 3 of him being like a legit rotational player in the NBA. I think all the reps and the experience that he's gotten over the last 3 years has led to, the game has slowed down for him now. And he is just doing an excellent job of finding his spots, getting open. I mean, he hit 4 threes tonight, and he honestly could have taken like 12 more because he was getting open. Or sorry, he hit 3 threes tonight. He could have taken more because he was open so many times, and the Cavs just like, it's not even that they weren't looking for him or anything. They just didn't see him because he never stops moving, and he's setting good screens and he's popping out, and he's just always in the right, the weak spot of the defense, spotting up, ready to shoot because he gets it off so quick. I really see Sam Merrill continuing to replicate this, regardless of if he's in the starting lineup or coming off the bench, wherever he's playing with. I think he's comfortable enough to where he's going to get open. And I also think we've seen that he's ready and willing to respond to any defensive challenge. He was against Milwaukee. He was jumping out and stunting on Giannis. Like, he was just like, go ahead, run through me. What are you going to do, Giannis? And Giannis was like, I don't want any of these problems. Now, I'm sure Giannis could score on Sam if he wanted to, but Sam was running out there and acting like he wasn't scared. And that, when you're playing that aggressive, that hard, and you're a smart basketball player, it's enough to make Giannis just say, okay, I don't have a lane right now. I got to dribble a couple extra times, and now Mobley can get back into the play and all that. And so Sam Merrill's just been playing great basketball. Really happy with the way he's playing. And again, I hope he's healthy.
Yeah, I think it's something too where we've seen the Cavs in these Garland-less games close games with 3 guards with Ball, Mitchell, and Merrill. And just imagine the looks that Merrill could get in a Garland and Mitchell and Merrill filled court. Like, that's going to be something where defenses are just going to have a really tough time. And I think that's where Merrill, like, if he's looking like this now, where everyone's kind of punching above their weight here while they're trying to make up for the gaps, like when more talent comes in, Merrill's life is going to get easier. So if he looks this good now, who knows how much easier his life's going to be and how much better of looks he's going to have down the road.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be interesting when Darius returns. Apollo is scratching very loudly, so if you guys hear him, I apologize. I think he's going to lay down any second now. But it is going to be interesting when Darius and Max Strus return, because that's where the backcourt starts to get a little crowded in terms of how do you split up these minutes. But I still think, like I said, whatever context he's in, he's going to be able to ball out. And so I do want to talk about specifically Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen. But before we get there, I want to talk about the Cavs defense tonight, because that has been an area of concern. It's been something that through the first 3 games of the year hasn't been great. Well, tonight they hold Detroit to 95 points. And you might have seen the box score. Do you know who Detroit's leading scorer was, or just how many points they had?
No, I do not know off the top of my head, but I know Cade didn't do too hot, but I guess he was the leading scorer now that I'm looking at the box score.
A whopping 12 points on a crisp 3 of 14 shooting. That was the leading scorer for the Pistons. This is like a 2002 box score. The leading scorer had 12 points. And so, I mean, listen, multiple guys guarded Cade throughout the night. Dean Wade had multiple stints guarding him. As I said, Sam Merrill fights like hell. Donovan Mitchell, like, this whole team just did such a great job of zeroing in on Cade Cunningham and really not giving him any openings. No easy opportunities to score. He also had 5 turnovers. Now, listen, every player's going to have off nights, but it's across the board. No one on this Pistons team looked comfortable at any point. The entire starting lineup, only Tobias Harris had double-digit points in that starting lineup, other than Cade Cunningham. Cavs just played bone-crushing defense, and it really looked like they wanted to make a statement against a team where, Detroit's a fine team. I'm not going to, downplay them or anything, but this was a game where you could really establish yourself defensively, right? Against Milwaukee, it's a bit more difficult when you got Giannis, who's playing at an MVP caliber level. Against the Pistons, this was a game where I was like, all right, the Cavs really need to make this a night where they just decide to clamp down and flex their defensive muscles. And I thought across the board, everyone played great defense. We mentioned Sam Merrill, but Dean Wade had 2 steals. Craig Porter had 3 steals again. I think the last 2 games have been the best defensive games of Craig Porter's career. I don't think he's all of a sudden turned into like an all defensive player or anything, but I think he's playing hard and he's getting into passing lanes and he's getting deflections. And I've been pleased with the way he's played. And so Mobley and Allen also just anchoring the defense in the paint. Mobley had 3 blocks and a steal. All in all, like, the early results have been a mixed bag as far as the Cavs being more aggressive, trying to generate turnovers. But tonight was pretty easily the best defensive game they've played in this young season.
Yeah, to go off your Craig Porter Jr. point, I feel like the major difference with him this season is that he's using his athleticism on the defensive end, which is something that we've talked about for years. Like, oh man, Craig, that's what he really has. That is the closest thing to like an NBA skill, is he just has such good athleticism, and he makes up for his lack of size with just the way he's able to. He just has insane hops in general, and he's been using them to get into those passing lanes and almost like an NFL wide receiver, just catching like passes over the top, one-handed, I think, in that Bucks game, which was, it's just really good to see, because I haven't really been absolutely swooned by Craig Porter offensively through these first few games to start the year, but the confidence is there, and I'm glad defensively he's showing out. So at least now it's not like, all right, well, if Craig's going to just take these 9-1-1 step back, like Harlem Globetrotter-esque shots, then I'm all set. The defense, though, was really good tonight. I think what was so impressive, but also like kind of expected, is like when the Cavs play a team like the Bucks, like they still, no one has the personnel. I guess arguably maybe San Antonio has the closest thing to it that can get in the way of a Giannis, but
yeah,
I think the Cavs, like, you have to honor that Giannis is going to do what he can do, and like you're just basically begging anyone else to stop you, so you'll just double whenever Giannis basically steps in from the perimeter. Cade Cunningham, for as good, as talented as he is, I think he's someone, obviously, that the Cavs feel pretty comfortable that they can stop, and they have the appropriate personnel to make his life pretty hard. And the Pistons honestly remind me, I feel like JB must get like deja vu. This reminds me of when the Cavs were in the play-in tournament in like his first year, and they, like, it just felt like the whole offense revolved around Darius Garland. And when Darius Garland was out, they just got absolutely crushed in those minutes. And it feels similar with the Pistons. Like the whole team is basically, the identity is Cade's going to do his thing. And when the defenses start paying attention to him, he'll spray it out, and the defenses will have to react accordingly. But if Cade doesn't have it going, then no one's going to double him when he steps in and tries to attack the basket. So those open shots go away, and they don't really have I don't know how we're so many years later from Cade, and the Pistons still haven't efficiently surrounded Cade with a bunch of spray shooters. They basically just swapped to Malik Beasley, who might not play basketball, for Duncan Robinson.
Their best piece. Yeah, they're trying Duncan Robinson in the big 2025, who actually, I think Duncan in the right context is a helpful player, but not as your starting shooting guard. Yeah.
Or when it's like, okay, well, when Cade's done spraying, his number one option is going to be Duncan Robinson, because Miami was pretty fine with Duncan Robinson leaving. And now, by out of necessity, that's what he has to be. And Tobias Harris from night to night is the most like erratic points per game player in the league that we have. But point anyway is that the Cavs did what they should have done, which is something that we can't say they've done to this point in the season. I look at that Nets game specifically. That game should have been over way earlier. The fact that the Nets came back to the extent that they did showed that this team did have an issue kind of just closing the door, and they addressed that in this game on both ends. And that's why I feel like this is definitely their most complete game. And I hope this is a turning point for them. I hope they see what they wanted to see on the tape for this game, and they use it against teams like Detroit going forward. I'm not saying I expect them to do this against like the elite teams, but I would expect them to do something similar to Boston, especially with the way that Boston is right now too. Their offense is equally as one-dimensional right now while they're searching for life without Jason Tatum.
Yeah, really good point. I mean, clearly the Cavs understood that if you can take Cade Cunningham off the board, this Pistons team, it could, be flailing around hopeless. And they did a great job of forcing Detroit into that situation tonight. They shot below 40% from the floor. It was a 37% shooting night, just overall from the Pistons. And one thing, I think this will transition to Jarrett Allen pretty well, because I think one thing that has stood out to me in these 4 games is that Kenny Atkinson and the Cavs few issues have popped up throughout the early portion of the season, right? They've had different things pop up. They've pointed them out, they've addressed it, and then they've improved it, right? We mentioned against Brooklyn and Milwaukee, hey, we keep building these big leads and then letting our foot off the gas. We can't do that again. Detroit, perfect example. They decided we're going to fix that tonight. Now, it's going to be a long season. I'm sure, progress isn't linear, but the fact that they addressed something, pointed something out, emphasized it, and fixed it, that was great. It goes down the board with like Craig Porter Jr. Hey, your defense was kind of sucking the first 2 games. Last 2 games, it's been better. Jarrett Allen, what's going on opening night? You still haven't adjusted to the lights in Madison Square Garden? Like, come on, dude. The last 3 games, he's been awesome. He was really, really good tonight. Like, this isn't a crazy box score game from Jarrett Allen. It was 20 points, 7 rebounds, shot 7 of 12, had 2 assists and a steal. But to me, what really stood out the last few games, and especially tonight, is that Jarrett Allen is being super active in putting himself in positions to get the ball. I felt like every time we saw so many big-to-big passes tonight. And a large reason for that was because every time Evan Mobley had the ball and Jarrett Allen's defender took his eyes off him for half a second, Jarrett just flashed to the middle or flashed to the dunker spot and was always available for the ball. And guess what? It's something that we've talked about a lot, but the Cavs need to look for Jarrett Allen, but also Jarrett Allen has to put himself in a position and be assertive to go get the ball. And so I thought there was a perfect combination of that tonight where he was always in the right place at the right time. The Cavs fed him and he punished Detroit for ignoring him because he really is in a unique position for a player of his caliber, finishing at the paint. I mean, for how gifted he is down there, that there's so many offensive weapons around him that, the defense is going to forget about you a lot. Like, the defense isn't always, I got to make sure I know where Jarrett Allen is. You can get in the middle of the floor and find really great openings because Evan Mobley is taking most of that defensive attention. You have Sam Merrill spacing the floor. DeAndre Hunter, of course, Donovan Mitchell is causing the defense to rotate and scramble. And so if you're Jarrett Allen and you are just relentlessly finding these openings like he did tonight, there should be no reason you disappear once a month, right? It's still going to happen. We know it's going to happen, but I'm glad that they addressed it. They pointed it out, and Allen said, all right, for the next however long, I'm just going to come out and be a beast because I thought he was awesome on offense. And I also thought he really handled Detroit's physicality all night too, because this is a physical front court. And I don't think Allen really looked bothered by that at any point.
Yeah, going off that, I feel like if you want to know how rough it was for the Pistons big men, look no further than Pistons fan favorite Beef Stew, who almost replicated Donovan Mitchell for plus minus at a negative 30. So kind of showing how the Cavs can kind of impose their will there. And you wouldn't know it off the broadcast because they also spent 5 minutes talking about how instrumental Beef Stew is to this Pistons identity as he's literally getting run off the floor. But don't worry about it. He can pull up from 3 every once in a while. That's cool.
I'm shocked to see that he was 1 of 9 tonight because the broadcast did repeatedly mention how well he's been shooting the ball this year. I thought he was shooting a little bit better than 1 of 9.
That 1-3 that caused them to go into that dialogue was 3 of his 4 points.
Oh, man. And he got dunked on. Jarrett Allen dunked all over him at one point, too. And so, we know there's the Jarrett Allen, he's never going to beat the soft allegations, but I do like to point out and give him his credit when he responds against a very physical front court and comes out and dominates. He was awesome tonight.
And if you're known as being kind of a mean guy, turns out they don't win because Beef Stew is the mean guy.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Nice guys do win, people.
That's the guy. Exactly. That's the guy who should be bullying Jarrett Allen and stuffing him into a locker, but it was Allen beating Beef Stew up. So he flipped the script.
He was outperformed by everyone's fan favorite player, Toulouse Smith.
Yeah, he actually played well. 11 points for shooting.
He almost outscored Cade.
He really did. I'm complete. Oh, in only 6 minutes. That's crazy. I said before we started recording, guys, I didn't watch Garbage Time. I was finishing up the grades for Fear the Sword. So if you're looking for, a breakdown of the Luke Travers 7 minutes or Thomas Bryant's shoe game, I'm not going to be able to offer it. So the only other player that I have takes on tonight is going to be Evan Mobley because, listen, we're going to be focusing on it all year. The Cavs want to make him a volume scorer. They're trying to feed as much. They're trying to put as much on Mobley's plate as he can possibly handle. And I think the results, honestly, through 4 games have almost been on a possession-to-possession basis in terms of judging him, One possession, you're like, wow, that was great. Super patient, very confident, composed, got to a spot, knocked it down. Other times it's, man, that handle does not look like it's where it needs to be. And then like a play later, he hits, I don't even know, I think it was Duncan Robinson. He hits him with like a between the legs around the bag dribble. I'm like, what the, okay, maybe it's better than I thought. So it's been very up and down for Mobley. I think it's been mostly good through the 4 games. And tonight I would say he was mostly good as well. Didn't score like crazy, only 15 points on 5 of 10 shooting. But I do think that the positive moments looked really good. The low lights are, I think he's maybe becoming a little reliant on the jumper. 5 of his 10 attempts tonight were 3-pointers. For a guy like Evan Mobley, who's so good in the paint, don't want him to be splitting his shot attempts 50-50 with the 3-point line and being in the paint. Granted, again, Cavs blew Detroit out the water, so the stats are going to look a little funky there because only 3/4 of this game was meaningful. But he also had 5 assists tonight, which I thought was important because I already mentioned him feeding Allen a handful of times, but he's getting a lot more defensive attention than in previous seasons. And so how he processes that and makes the right play out of those situations is going to be key all year long. And I thought tonight, again, few hectic helter-skelter moments throughout, but overall, I thought, especially as the game went on, he started to really handle and process everything going on and just made the right play more often than not.
Yeah, I weirdly feel like Mobley was hitting his stride right as his minutes ended. I think I
Yeah.
was saying to Tony before we started, I felt like Mobley was just turning on that aggression level we saw for the first 3 games in the beginning of the third. And I was wondering if they were going to kind of leave Mobley out there with some reserves to kind of let him just kind of work through some stuff because, you can keep practicing in scrimmages and doing these summer workouts where you're kind of showing off your handle and stuff, but literally nothing's going to replicate in game reps. So if they want to see Mobley kind of do all this stuff, I prefer to see him kind of experiment in those situations versus like when we're seeing him go, like you said, in this possession by possession, when each one is actually means a little more than the ones we saw in the last quarter and a half of this game. But I do really like the aggression. I know that this is what you kind of have to go through in order for Mobley to like kind of reach his peak. He's not going to just show up after one summer and magically look like a complete player that we're all expecting him to be. But I think if you look at it in that position mindset, like your possession by possession mindset, like you're saying, I think this is something that as the season goes along, I think he is trending in the right direction. The worst thing that could happen is we're in mid-season and it looks like Mobley's back to the Mobley of last season where it's more still kind of like he gets whatever is given to him and he works with it. I do agree, though. I don't like how his approach right now is more going outside first and then going in. I would rather he get hot by going into the paint and being aggressive and then expanding the game out. And that's going to make his life easier. Defenders are, if he starts the game going outside in, defenders are going to be like, that's fine. Because Mobley's still league-wide doesn't have the rep of someone where it's like, oh, we still got to keep him honest from the three-point line. Like, he could have good shooting nights. He could have bad shooting nights. And he's also not known as a high-volume three-point shooter. So if he's not going to hit those shots, defenses it's going to ruin like a lot of his flow offensively.
Yeah, and I think that's where Darius Garland, hopefully returning soon, should help him in the sense of that, like, yeah, we want Mobley to take as much self-creation as he possibly can because that's, ultimately the most important thing for his development offensively. But, hey, man, if you can just spoon feed him a couple easy dunks throughout the night, like you mentioned, that's what gets you going. That's seeing the ball go through the hoop, even if it's just a wide open dunk. It's like that helps you build confidence and get rolling. And right now, it's hard because there's not a lot of distributing on this roster or in these lineups right now. Like Donovan Mitchell clearly has a score mentality. He only had 2 assists tonight. I think Donovan's played great, but like there's not many super easy opportunities being handed to Mobley. And he's clearly just not at the point where like, he's not going to you can't roll the ball out there and he's going to go get you 30. Like there's still some growing pains going on. There's still, some foundation that you have to build inside the paint for him to really get it going outside. And I do think, I forgot to mention one thing that I did like about his first half tonight is that there was a handful of plays where he just put his head down and tried to get into the paint and drew, I want to say at least 4 free throws off of those. I think he finished with 6 free throws. So there was like 2 plays where he just put his head down, ran directly into, I know Beef Stew was one of them. I forget who the other play was on, but that's good stuff, right? Like you're so big, you're so athletic that if you just run full head of steam into the paint, guys are probably going to foul you. And so I really love to see that. He took 12 free throws in the previous game as well. And so boosting that free throw number up, that's going to get you more easy points on the board too. And so again, we both agree. I want him to shoot the 3-pointers, but I also want him to get into the paint too. And it's, hey, I never thought we'd get to a point where I'd say Mobley's taking too many threes. And I don't necessarily know if we're at that point yet, because again, this game was a little bit weird with being such a blowout. Who knows if it's a close game? Mobley probably gets a number of more attempts in the paint. But yeah, I mean, it's just interesting that we're at this point where we're having the conversation. Is he taking too many jumpers? Who would have thought? The mid-range shot is something that he looks comfortable taking, more comfortable than ever before. So I am looking to see if he can continue to make that like a patented bread and butter shot for himself. But all of his best moments have come when he gets a mismatch, a wing on him, and he's able to just take his time, put his back to the basket, and give them like a baby hook or something. Those have been his best self-creating moments so far to me.
Yeah, and he definitely is gifted in getting to the basket too. So that's something where there's so few players with his size that are able to kind of move with the ball like he is. So to kind of restrict yourself to being a stationary 3-point shooter off pick and pops or just even off sprays isn't really doing yourself a service. I mean, there's a reason why the Bucks development for Giannis strayed away from him kind of being this 3-point shooter, which for a few years it was almost like they were forcing the issue. And then it's like, why are we forcing him to take lower efficiency shots when we know this guy can do whatever he wants around the rim? Not that Giannis and Mobley are synonymous with each other in their game, their playing styles, but I don't think it's much of a statement to say that Mobley's inside game is pretty special, to the point where if you're kind of detracting from that just to try to develop the perimeter for 3-point volume's sake, then you're kind of sacrificing parts of what makes Mobley himself.
For sure. And that's the balance that they have to find all throughout the season. And so overall, as I've said, I am happy with just kind of going all out. Just let Mobley try things. I've appreciated that that's the approach that they've taken through 4 games, because that's the only way that you're going to get learned is through trial and error. And so maybe we get to February and we look back at this and it's like, oh yeah, I was taking too many threes. We kind of figured out when and where is my time to take a 3 or to get hot from downtown or to press the issue there. And, it's just a learning curve that he's going to go through. And I'm happy that they're attempting to get it out of the way early, because listen, clearly they can win a bunch of games even when he is going through this, right? Even without Darius and Max Strus and without Hunter for the first 2 games. The Cavs are 3-1 on the season so far. Had some not so great games, but this was a really awesome game to feel like we are officially back in the swing of things now. So that's going to do it for this episode of the Junkyard Pod. I want to say thank you for watching or listening. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify. We'll have more episodes coming soon. And as always, go Cavs.